everyone, today I'm going to be talking about rhetorical fallacies. First of all, what is a rhetorical fallacy? A rhetorical fallacy is an error of reasoning. When someone adopts a position or tries to persuade someone else to adopt a position based on a bad piece of reasoning, they commit a fallacy. For my video today, I chose 3 logical fallacies. These are appeal to probability, appeal to incredulity, and appeal to ignorance. Let's start with the appeal to probability. Someone would call it logical fallacy of the universal negative, saying that if something could happen, then it will inevitably happen. So the formula is X is possible, therefore X is true. The appeal to probability or the appeal to possibility is a mistake in logic. It means that someone takes something for granted because it will probably happen. It is basically a justification, not an argument at all. For example, has it ever happened to you that whenever you take your umbrella with you, it doesn't rain that day? So if I don't bring my umbrella, then it will inevitably rain. This is an example of a rhetorical fallacy. Or, there is a common belief that if you don't install firewall on your computer, you'll be inevitably hacked or you'll get a virus or whatever. But in fact, it's not. It's just a possibility. The same thing is with downloading torrent files. Many people, I don't know why, believe that if you download torrent file, then you'll get a virus. They all say that, torrent websites are full of viruses and you better not download them. Well, it's a probability, but it's not every time like this. In fact, many torrent file websites are very safe, and there are people maintaining them and keeping an eye on all the viruses and everything. So you should try. Or, okay, you can pay for everything. And the greatest example of all, like my grandma would say, you don't know how to cook. Your husband will divorce you in the future. What? Well, there is a probability that we will divorce, but who says that it's gonna be because I cannot cook? In fact, I can. Okay, so if there's a slight probability that something can happen, it doesn't mean that it necessarily has to happen. And this is a rhetorical fallacy, appeal to probability. The next one, appeal to incredulity. The claim sounds unbelievable, so it must not be true. This is a rhetorical fallacy number 2. Because you found something difficult to understand or unaware of how it works, then you made out that it's possibly not true. Probably not true. The basic formula of this rhetorical fallacy is 1. Cannot imagine how X could be true. If X is true, then one could imagine how X could be true. Therefore, X is false. If it's impossible to imagine, it doesn't mean that it's false. It only means that your imagination is limited. Moreover, if no one has yet imagined how the state of affairs is possible, it doesn't mean that no one will ever be able to. Something being complicated does not necessarily make it untrue. If a claim sounds difficult to understand to you, in fact, it's your job to educate yourself before coming to a conclusion. Until then, the conclusion should always remain at I don't know. For example, the famous model of the universe that was offered by a very famous mathematician and astronomer Nicholas Copernicus. He placed the sun instead of the earth in the middle of the universe. And many other scientists did not believe him and they laughed at him, but in fact it turned out to be that he was right. And this was their rhetorical fallacy. So if they could not imagine how the sun could be the center of the universe, therefore it was false for them. Another example, Giordano Bruno, who went even further, claiming that the stars are just distant suns surrounded by their own exoplanets, and in fact that they can foster their own life. He also insisted that the universe is in fact infinite, and so there could not be any celestial body at its center. We're in Taiwan, and of course it started raining, so I'm sorry I had to move in a different location. So Giordano Bruno's death is a perfect example of the rhetorical fallacy of the Roman Inquisition. They could not imagine how his claims could be true. Therefore, they were false to them. So they sentenced him to death and burned him. Yay! The appeal to incredulity, this rhetorical fallacy, is a common basis for some ghost or different afterlife beliefs, because the people holding the beliefs don't understand or just refuse to acknowledge how our mind is a product of a physical brain. Like, for example, for me, it's also very hard to understand. Our mind is so complex, it's so amazing, and how can you believe that it will be immediately dead after your physical body is dead? How can it just disappear in a moment? It must go somewhere, it must continue living somewhere in a different kind of state. I hope it is so, because otherwise it would be just a terrible waste of human knowledge. And the last one for today is the appeal to ignorance. The basic formula is X is true because you cannot prove that X is false. A claim is true because it has not been proven false, or it's false because it has not been proven true. This rhetorical fallacy simply represents a lack of contrary evidence. I think this is exactly the fallacy that the judicial is trying to get rid of in the court. The victim's family is assuming that the person is guilty simply because he or she has not been proven innocent. This is not right. Another example is another common fallacy about UFOs. It has not been proven that the UFOs don't visit Earth at all. Therefore, UFOs exist and there's life everywhere in the universe. Well, it might be true, but it's just probability. You cannot claim that it's true or false. It's just a rhetorical fallacy. And again, better to say, I don't know. You cannot prove it right, you cannot prove it wrong. Okay. The same thing is with the God existence or divine intervention. How can you prove it right or prove it wrong? You haven't proven to me that the God exists, therefore he doesn't. Well, and vice versa. Another example. It happened to me. For example, a guy asks you out. Let's assume he invites you to see a movie, and you're replying, "Why should I go with you?" And he's just like, "Why shouldn't you go?" And now you're kind of, "Why shouldn't I?" Okay, if he's interesting to me, of course. I hope you were able to get the point from my random examples and explanations. So be aware of rhetorical fallacies. Improve your speaking skills. Bye!